Hello, everyone, and welcome. I hope you're all doing well. I'm very excited for this session because we'll be sharing with you testimonies from the streets and from schools. My friend and colleague Katie is here with me today. Hi, Katie. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you. I'm doing well as well. Katie and I both work for Toronto Right to Life, which is an educational pro-life charity that is focused on making abortion unthinkable here in Toronto and the GTA. Earlier today, the pro-life guys discussed the importance of using effective apologetics and providing evidence in order to change hearts and minds and save lives. If you missed that video, no worries. The video is posted on our Facebook page. We live in our culture today that has bought the lies of the pro-choice movement. Many people that we've met on the streets or in schools truly believe that the preborn child is simply clumps of cells and that abortion is healthcare. And that's why we need to provide compelling evidence and clear reasons for why we believe what we believe and to persuade people that abortion is a human rights violation. Our primary goal is to bring the pro-life message to everyone in Toronto and the GTA. Katie, could you share with us how we're achieving our primary goal through street activism?
Sure. So what we do is we go out into the public square where the people who most need our message are, and we bring two components. The first is evidence of both the humanity of preborn children. So we show images of healthy preborn prenatal images, and we show the reality of abortion, what abortion does to them. And that's the first component. And the second is we bring conversations to the streets. So we have conversations with people about abortion, ask them what they think, and we use the human rights argument first and foremost. That is the bread and butter of our outreach. So we ask people what they think about abortion, then we say, do you believe in human rights? And most 99.9% of people say yes, they do, which is great. We say, yeah, I do too. And then we ask them if who should get human rights, and they usually say everyone or humans. And we agree with that. And then we say, if two humans reproduce, what species is their offspring? And then they go, oh, it's human. And then we can show them the image of abortion and ask them, doesn't it logically follow then that abortion is a human rights violation? And that little conversation alone has changed so many minds on abortion.
Yeah, that I agree with you. Those two are very important in changing hearts and minds on abortion, specifically on the streets. Is there any conversation that stand out from your experience of doing street outreach? And could you share one at least, or two maybe?
Sure. So I'll give one from each component of our outreach. So for showing the evidence alone, like sometimes the weather's not good, or because of the pandemic we're wearing masks, and people may be less willing to stop and have conversations. And that can be, you can feel discouraged sometimes, but what's amazing is that people still change their minds just from seeing the evidence alone. So recently I was at Ryerson University, and a young man, I asked him what he thought about abortion, and he said that he used to be pro-choice, but that he had changed his mind. And I asked him what changed his mind, and he said, well, reflecting on the images that you guys bring to campus is what changed my mind. He said, when I look at that, it really doesn't look like just a clump of cells. And he said, so, I was treating women like objects and thinking, well, if anything happens, they can just go and have an abortion. And he said, but looking at the images of what abortion actually is, he realized that wasn't something he could expect women to just go and do, and that it would violently end a human life. So he said, more than change his mind, he also changed his behavior, and he no longer treats women like objects. So, and that was just from seeing the images. He didn't even have a conversation with anyone on our team. And then as far as the human rights argument, that one works so well all the time at changing hearts and minds. And one of our volunteers, Alana, she recently was in Scarborough, and she had a conversation with a man I'll just read what she said here. A man crossed over to my side of the street, and after receiving a pamphlet, I asked him what his thoughts were and said that he said he didn't know that this is what a preborn child looked like in the womb. I said, so in seeing what they look like, do you think it should ever be okay to abort them? And he said he wasn't sure. So we went through the human rights argument, and he said, wow, I've never heard this side before. They never give us this side. They always just say it's a woman's choice. I don't think abortion should be okay. And he thanked us for being there and for helping him to be more aware.
Wow, that's amazing. I am so happy to hear those, and that's very encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
And yeah, the human rights argument, so simple and yet so effective in changing minds on abortion. On top of that, we also use common ground, analogies, and questions to address the different arguments that people bring up for abortion, such as difficult circumstances, and the one that we all have heard of, my body, my choice. I actually remember doing street outreach last year around Yonge and Finch, and I asked this young man what he thought about abortion. He said that abortion is a woman's choice. And so I said, as a woman myself, I agree and I value my freedom to choose what I want to do with my own body. And then I asked him, would it be okay for me to use my body to slap you hard on the face? And then he said, of course not, you can't do that. I said, well, you're right, I agree, that would be wrong. I think we both agree that I can't use my body to harm somebody else's body, to harm you. And then I pointed to my sign that shows an abortion victim at around 10 weeks, and I said, what about this preborn child whose body has been torn apart into pieces through an abortion? And he looked at that photo and he said, wow, you're right. This is wrong. Personally, I'm against this. However, I still think it's a choice. And so I added and said, okay, what about if I told you that I'm personally okay with child abuse? And worse, you find out that I abuse my own child. Is that choice that you would allow? And he thought about it and said, well, no, that's not okay. I see your point now. And to make sure that he's completely changed his mind, I asked him, what would you do if your friend is pregnant, considering an abortion, and asking for your help? And he said, I will tell her that abortion is wrong and what it does to her, what it would do to her preborn child, and tell her all the other options she has. And then we shook hands and he thanked me for that conversation. Another one that I remember from last year as well is a conversation with two young men. And they were mostly pro-life, except for the case of sexual assault. And so I told them that, rape or sexual assault is a very difficult circumstance. And I think that we need to do better to support sexual assault survivors. And then I asked him, what if the survivor, let's say, became pregnant and chose to have her baby? After a year or two, as the baby grows older, let's say the baby starts to look more like the father, and the mother is having a hard time raising that 1-year-old. Would it be okay for her to kill her baby or her 1-year-old because of who the father is, because of the father's crime? And they said, well, no. And I followed up and I added and said, imagine if we have two babies in the womb, both at 35 weeks. And let's say one was conceived in love and the other was conceived in hate. Would it be fair to treat one differently because of how they were conceived, something that is out of their control? And they thought about it and they both said, well, no, that's not fair. And so to clarify, I asked them, would you agree now that abortion is always wrong, even in the case of sexual assault? And And they both said yes and left that conversation completely pro-life. You see, when we use common ground to build a connection with someone, we use analogies to show people what their beliefs look like in reality, and then ask them questions, not only for us to understand where someone is coming from and know what their beliefs are, but also to help people to think through their own beliefs. When we do that, we can show them and they can come to their own conclusion that abortion is a human rights violation. It's so great, Katie, that, by using these dialogue tools, we can change hearts and minds on abortion.
Yeah.
And that's also why we make sure we have the evidence of what abortion does, and we use a human rights argument in our presentations that we give in schools, churches, and community groups to make sure that we're making a clear and strong case for the pro-life position. We usually ask our audience a feedback form to complete a feedback form before and after the presentation to gauge their understanding of the issue and to measure the effectiveness of our work. We found that 70% of people who see our presentation change their mind on the issue. That's awesome, right?
So good.
And 66% felt motivated to take action. And 90% highly recommends our presentation, including those who stayed neutral or pro-choice on the issue. I want to share with you a feedback that I received from last year when I was giving a presentation at a high school in Vaughan just before the pandemic. This student chose a 5 on a scale of from 0 to 10. 0 means they're completely pro-choice, and 10 means they're completely pro-life. This student chose a 5 and said, and I quote, "I've never thought about abortion before." After the presentation, the student chose a 10 and said, "Killing shouldn't be a solution. No baby should be killed. The videos about abortion changed my mind." Isn't that incredible? Katie, I know you also have a feedback that you received from last year from the presentations you gave. Would you be able to share a few with us?
Sure. So I was at a high school in Woodbridge, and then the feedback forms from there, a couple ones that stood out. A grade 9 student chose 5 before the presentation, so kind of neutral on the issue and said it's the mother's choice, and it depends on the situation. After the presentation, he chose 9 and said, "I now believe that abortion shouldn't be done because a preborn child is still a person." He also said he felt motivated to take action and would recommend the presentation. Another student in grade 9 chose an 8, so he was mostly pro-life already. He said, "It's not right, but maybe there are some bad circumstances." After the presentation, he chose 10. He said abortion is always wrong, and a fetus is just an age, and you shouldn't kill a human. He also felt motivated to take action and would recommend the presentation. So that's so encouraging, and that's something that makes data entry fun. When you go and you take the feedback forms from these high schools and you put them into the where we track them, and you get to see, just like you said, 70%. So like every form, people will move either a little bit more towards the pro-life view or completely change. Completely change happens a lot. And it's so encouraging.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And one of the things that our outreach does, not just changing minds, but it also inspires other pro-lifers to join us in the fight against abortion. And we need that. We need more people who are willing to donate a little bit of their time, treasure, or talent to have conversations. It's so simple. And so I'm really excited about this Toronto March for Life week of opportunities to get involved and get engaged, because it's an opportunity when we don't have a whole lot else going on for other pro-lifers to learn some little tools and or maybe get far more involved in the movement to fight abortion with us and to reap some of that reward of seeing people change their minds. So
that's amazing. Yeah, that's
yeah.
really true, Katie, we definitely see pro-lifers who get, motivated and inspired to take action. They've always been pro-life, but didn't really understand the gravity of the issue until they've had a conversation with us or they've attended a training or a presentation with us. Do you remember anyone who maybe attended one of our presentations and eventually got involved?
Yes. So we have a volunteer young woman named Christina. So she heard one of our colleagues give a pro-life presentation at her church. She then attended the crash course in 2019, which is a course that we offer that's a short course that gives you everything you need to start doing outreach with us, volunteering. So she was 16 years old when she did that course. She also completed the 3-day summer training, which is a little bit more intensive. And now she's one of the youngest volunteers that we have.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I've met Christina as well, and she's great. I inspire her. She inspires me, I should say, because she's at a young age. She's already involved and active. Katie, I know that things are very limited right now because of the pandemic. What opportunities can people do or get now or receive in order to get active?
Okay, so there's so much. We have so much going on this week and in general. So the best advice I would give to anybody who wants to get involved is to go to endthekilling.ca. You can look up the tab where it says sign up as a volunteer. And just filling that out will plug you into, you'll get notified about all the opportunities that there are. So there's a Pro-Life Guys podcast, that one is so awesome. It's such a great resource. I like to put it on while I'm vacuuming, while I'm driving. And it's just a great podcast that will teach you, tips and tricks, how to have conversations with people. We also have Thursday at 7 p.m. That is a good one. Thursday at 7 p.m. Apologetics 101. So this is the meat and bones of how to have conversations that effectively change people's minds on abortion. So this is the logic, the way that you can draw the truth out of that other people already know out of them. So this is the little 1-hour session that will teach you how to change people's minds, even just your friends that you're having conversations with, your neighbors. That's a really good one. There's more.
There is a lot more. I should say, Katie, the Apologetics 101 is happening tonight at 7 p.m.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Even better, sooner.
Yes, exactly. And then Thursday at 7 p.m., we will have a heart apologetics as well. So apologetics would focus on talking and reaching people who've been wounded by abortion. And any other opportunities that people can join and participate in?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
We also have the dialogue workshops that you have been actually doing.
I think that font is a little too small for my eyes.
No worries. So we have, Katie and I have been doing virtual dialogue workshops. So if you want to get training one-on-one or in a small group setup, we will be able to provide that for you. We've also been running weekly webinars, and we're hoping to have another summer training event this year, following obviously the public health guidelines. But as Katie said, please go to endthekilling.ca and then find the Get Active tab to sign up as a volunteer. And yes, please tune in also for the rest of our virtual activities as part of Life Week, as part of the 2021 Toronto March for Life. As Katie said, we have an Apologetics 101 tonight at 7 p.m. Justina Van Manen will share with us all the tools that we need to have effective conversations on abortion. And then tomorrow morning, the Pro-Life Guys will be back to share with us and talk about social media outreach. They will share some tips on how to have fruitful conversations on social media. And
it can be done.
Yeah. Well, actually, Katie is very good at that. So, Katie, you can also message her because she is also very active, especially on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm sure Katie can give you tips as well. And then tomorrow evening, we have Jonathan Van Maren, who will teach us effective strategies for how we can change our culture. And then Thursday, we have Mary Helen Most from Aid to Women to share with us how we can help women who are facing a crisis pregnancy. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll be back actually to give a Heart Apologetics 101 on Thursday night to share with you how we can talk to people who have been wounded by abortion. I just want to say thank you everyone for tuning in, but most especially for staying involved. Your participation and presence are very important in changing our culture. Abortion continues to kill 300 innocent children every day in our country, even during the pandemic. The pro life message cannot be canceled. We need your help throughout the year to reach everyone in Toronto, to reach everyone in our country with the pro life message and to change hearts and minds and to save lives. Again, to get involved with our team, please go to endthekilling.ca and look for the Get Active tab to sign up as a volunteer. We'll make sure that you're connected to your local pro-life group or start a new one. Again, thank you, Katie, for being here with me, for sharing your experience and your stories. And again, thank you for watching this live stream. And I hope you can tune in again at 7 p.m. to hear our Apologetics 101 live stream tonight. That's all from us. Take care, everyone. And yeah, we'll see you hopefully in other sessions. Bye, guys.
Bye.